Joining us now, Dan Caldwell. He's the vice president of Concerned Veterans for America. Dan, good to have you with us, man.
Hey, John, it's good to be back on.
Dan, let's get to President Trump's apparent choice for leading the VA. I was a little surprised by it. I thought we were going to put somebody in there that was going to get change. Apparently now they're looking at an Undersecretary of State who, I look at an organization like the VA and all the problems, Dan, and I say to myself, how could you put somebody in charge who's basically part of the problem? Am I wrong?
Well, I think that's a natural first reaction, and that was kind of our first reaction. However, that said, our organization, you've had us on for years. You've been a big advocate of reforming and fixing the VA, so you know where we stand. And Dr. Shulkin has reached out to us even before, he was named VA Secretary and has been interested in our reform ideas. So he's indicated privately in the past that he is open to a lot of reform ideas. However, you can't ignore the fact that he did work for a year and a half under the Obama administration at a time when the VA was not getting better. But, based on his testimony yesterday and some of the other things he said, in many ways, he was carrying out a reform agenda from Secretary McDonnell and the Obama administration. There's something he said that a lot of people didn't pick up when he was talking about the ability to fire bad VA employees. He basically admitted that the VA wanted to fight this court case when some VA employees who were fired, they were appealing their firing. An initial court ruled in the VA employees' favors. The VA wanted to actually appeal the case, and the Obama administration didn't let them. And that was basically him admitting and saying that they were being held back by the Obama administration. So I think there is good reason to be encouraged. Look, the president has not backed off his VA reform agenda. The incoming VA secretary made that clear in the testimony yesterday. He's surrounding himself with good people. So I think that a combination of having a Congress that really wants to fix this, now having a president that is making it a top priority, and then this secretary surrounding himself with good people, I think is an encouraging sign. But, finally, we all need to be very watchful, and we need to hold him accountable, just like we held the last administration accountable.
Well, Dan, we've been holding these people accountable. They do nothing. Here's my concern with Dr. David Shulkin. I don't know him. All I know is he's part of the organization that he's now going to try to reform, which means, look, he's in there 18 months. He's made a bunch of friends. He's got a bunch of underlings. He's got, people on his staff that, they're all part of the problem. And, I was very, very disappointed with Secretary Bob McDonnell, who I thought would come in, and I thought there would be real change. He was a CEO. He served his country admirably. He came in and he immediately became part of the bureaucracy and defended the status quo. I just can't see how you're going to get somebody from within that is really going to implement the reforms out there. Now, having said that, here's what's different, and I want to get your comments on this. President Trump has been very specific in the reforms for the VA that he wants. He's laid out a platform. He put it on his website. He campaigned on it. It's very specific, as you know, Dan. And if there's one thing that we have learned about our president is he is going to do exactly what he said he was going to do. So maybe the thinking here, and I want to get your comment, is let's put an administrator in that understands the system that is going to simply implement his plan. Is that possibly what happened here?
Well, I hope that's the case, and I think that's the case. And you're absolutely right. The president on every stump speech talked about how the VA was mistreating our veterans. It was literally in, I think, just about every stump speech he did. In the year and a half he was running for president. So this is a priority for him. He's made very clear where he stands on the issue. He's brought in some very strong people that are going to be liaisons between the White House and the VA. This includes some retired, successful executives that are veterans themselves, that are friends of the president. that are going to help monitor the situation. So he's got different layers of accountability in there, and I think that's going to be the case, and I'm hopeful it's the case.
Well, look, we're going to see, and he's going to go through the hearings, and there's going to be a lot of questions. I'm withholding, let me put it this way, Dan Caldwell, I'm withholding any enthusiasm because I really thought in order to get this thing changed, you really had to bring somebody from the outside that was fearless in battling the bureaucracy and would almost isolate himself from what is going on, because you have incompetence, you got people that should get fired, you have fraud, you have derision, you've got lying, you got cheating, all at the expense of the veteran who had a promise that he would be able to take advantage of the VA, and they're not being able to do that. You know, my history has shown at 58 years old, somebody like Dr. Shulkin, who's been there, who's part of the process, it's going to be very difficult for him to get the dramatic, transformational change that is needed at the VA. So I'm not enthusiastic. How about that? Is that fair?
I think that's totally fair. I am in trust but verify mode, to quote Ronald Reagan. And what I have seen privately and publicly the last, month or so since he's been nominated has given me, more hope. But, John, you're absolutely right, is that you have this history here that you can't ignore. But I would say to your listeners again, there are encouraging signs here. We do have a president that does exactly what he says, and I don't think the president is going to be happy that if in a year and a half, the status quo is continuing. I don't think he's going to be happy if in 3 months the status quo doesn't appear to be going away. So that is something that should give all of us at least hope here. So if Dr. Shulkin's not doing his job in 3 months, I don't think this president's going to have any problem getting rid of him and putting somebody else in.
Okay. That is going to be the final word from Dan Caldwell, Vice President, Concerned Veterans for America. Dan, good to have you with us. We're going to follow this story, see what happens, and let's have you on an ongoing basis again like we did, so we can follow exactly what the progress is. And when they're not making any, we can blast them. How about that?
Absolutely. I love it, John, and thank you for covering this issue over the years.
It's always an honor to have you on. Dan Caldwell, Concerned Veterans for America. More information, go to cv4a.org, cv4a.org. Fighting for our veterans every day. Concerned Veterans for America and their Virginia chapter. Thank you. Keep it right here.